Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. We got ourselves a mailbag pod. But first, Justin, Brian Daboll announced on Tuesday that they are going with Tyrod Taylor as the starting quarterback. We all expected that. Daboll made everyone wait a couple days to give the answer on that. The right decision once you did pull DeVito. And Tyrod Taylor's going to start the final 2 games of the year if he can stay healthy, which gives them a better chance to win, which is a little scary now that we are fully in tank mode.
Oh, yeah. Jordan Ronan put out this tweet, and this isn't like a shot at Jordan. This is what all the beat reporters are saying, but this is just like a recap tweet. This was the move Daboll needed to make in order to justify to his locker room that they are trying to win. Taylor is a well-respected veteran, and at this point of his career is the better quarterback when compared to Tommy DeVito. That tweet was put out on December 27th, 3:19 p.m. If that tweet was put out December 4th, which is 7 days before the Monday Night Football game against the Green Bay Packers, does anyone bat an eye?
No, I mean, those articles should have been written then, but for some reason nobody wrote those articles at that time. I don't want to spend a lot.
I'm over it.
Yeah, we basically did all of this on Monday, and a lot on Twitter, so I don't feel the need to spend a lot of time on this. But this is the first podcast since it happened, so I just want to recap without going into a ton of details. This was obviously going to happen. Tyrod is the much better player. I'm emphasizing the word much. Just to talk about DeVito in that Eagles game. The Eagles finally got smartened up to the DeVito stuff. And not to say that he was killing it versus other teams, but the Eagles were the first team that are like, you know what? We're just going to play him like he's not a horrible quarterback, and that we got to stop Saquon Barkley at 1,000 miles per hour. And look, we're just going to throw disguised coverages and not worry about stacking the box every single play. And it just totally neutralized him. He just turned into nothing. He basically had to get to the backside of his reads on everything because he just did not see what was happening. And that, also not a lot of opportunities to throw the ball, but obviously was really bad. I'll have the film review out later to illustrate some of the stuff in that. But here's where I am going to emphasize is the much, right? The argument has been, Justin, well, the gap it's close. It was close. And so they went with the younger guy. They're both bad. I disagree so much. If Tyrod Taylor wasn't injury prone, he would be once again another highest paid backup QB in the NFL. He's done the backup QB role very well. He's better on film by a mile, not close, by a mile. And if you look at stats, there's 20 players in between them in EPA per play, and that's not even considering the opponents. That's not considering the Joe Barry Packers defense. That's not considering Jack Del Rio and the Commanders deciding hey, we're going to be the dumbest defense ever. We're just going to run downhill and not cover anybody and not communicate at all. That doesn't include that in those numbers in that film. Tyrod Taylor the gap is not close. But then that's why we're here, despite DeVito being the younger guy and winning 3 games in a row.
Yeah, the opponents that Tyrod didn't play and the opponents that Tommy DeVito did play does really need to be a part of this conversation. Where, the Washington Commanders, didn't they fire Jack Del Rio the next day after that performance?
The Thanksgiving after the Thanksgiving game.
It was 1 week later. Or a couple weeks later.
And Tyrod did play Del Rio and the Commanders, which were a bad defense, but they at least had they didn't trade away their 2 edge guys.
Put up 8
and
plays
they played DeVito
yards.
like he was a middle school quarterback, and with DeVito's stats in the Commanders game are pretty good. It just took all the sacks.
No, but again, my point is that take your Giants brain off for a second and just put on the NFL brain of, man, that Washington defense is terrible, and they have seemingly gotten worse. They're the coldest team in the NFL right now, and that defense is absolutely pathetic. And then, that Joe Barry and that Packers defense, they've been one of the coldest units in the NFL over the last month. It's so crazy how Bryce Young and Tommy DeVito absolutely diced up that defense, yet they stopped Patrick Mahomes on primetime in Lambeau Field. That's the Joe Barry experience for you right there. So that Packers defense is really, really bad. Bryce Young just put up a 30 bag on him. So take that with the grain of salt. But I said it on WFAN. I said it on here. I'm ready for this to be over. I want this back and forth to be over. I'm ready for the offseason to talk about a solution to possible quarterback one. I'm ready for that.
Yeah, right. So, like you mentioned, DeVito did play well versus the Packers, and then versus the Saints, I actually thought he made improvements, but it was still, he scored 6 points with those improvements, and then they all went to shit when the Eagles threw some disguised coverages at you. But yeah, it's over. Tyrod starts the next 2 games unless he gets hurt. Matt Barkley to the Jacksonville Jags. So I'll never get to see him throw a pass for us. That makes me sad. I wonder if Jacob Eason and that kid's jersey will become part of the Giant. Like, they still haven't signed their third quarter. Like, you kind of have to have a third QB to get through the rest of the season on the practice squad. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they simply don't care at this point. Justin, before we get into this episode, well, actually, we've gotten into the episode. Before we get into this mailbag, this episode is brought to you by some special people. Jeff Green. There's a basketball player named Jeff Green. There was a NASCAR driver named Jeff Green. And then
yes, there was.
Kevin Evans, which is, your parents really decided to make your first name and your last name rhyme. Kevin Evans.
That feels fake.
Kevin Evans. Like,
Kevin Evans.
That's Kevin Evans.
I think I love that, though.
I think his parents probably get a great kick out of it too. Kevin
Evans.
I'm
Kevin Evans, coming to you live from patreon.com/TalkGiants, $2 a month plus some other tiers. You get to hang out with us live while we record the shows. Bobby Skinner will send you some stickers in the mail, plus there's some shirt raffles a couple times a month. Patreon.com/TalkGiants. Thanks to our listeners. And also, link in the description. The Giants have 2 home games left. Yeehaw!
Tony Award voting is available for Patreon members now, too.
That is also a perk where
and
you
only they get to vote.
Only they get to vote. You are 25% of the vote this year. So be part of the Tony Award voting, patreon.com/TalkGiants. We have 2 more tailgates this year. Giants have 2 more home games. So that link is also in our description if you are looking for a place to tailgate, if you're looking for a place to hang out these final 2 home games of the season. I expect to see do a barrel roll at this game on Sunday.
You'll be glad you did. Yeah, make sure you get it. I kind of wanted to come up for one of these games, but it's just like I can't spend the bread on like a whole trip for these games, so I'm not. But I am going to be missing all of you guys there, so make sure to get to the tailgate. All right, take it away, Steve.
Mail time.
The mail's here. Come on. Bye, guys. Here's the mail. It never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
Thanks, Steve from Blues Clues. Justin, let's get into the mail.
Oh, Mr. Chicken with the first question, and he asks, is the fan base scapegoating Mike Kafka for the overall shortcomings of the offense?
Did you see the results of so we did some kind of end of season polls on the page, right? Like the position coach one will put out tomorrow. So I put out the results of like GM, head coach, and then coordinators. For GM and head coach, I asked, do you believe they're the right people for the job? Not should they be back? Because everyone, even if you're not happy with them, everyone believes they should be back. 94% believe Joe Shane is the right GM for the Giants, while 93% believe Brian Daboll is the right head coach. A surprise it's that high after a year or 2 where you lost like this, but I do agree, at least with Brian Daboll and Shane, I do agree with, but I don't have like a lot of conviction on that. Only 38% of fans believe Mike Kafka should be back. I was shocked. I was really shocked by that. I really did not see it.
38% believe that he should not be back, or 38% believe
he should be back? So that means 72% believe Mike Kafka should be fired. 87% believe Wink Martindale should be back, and then 4% believe Thomas McGahee should be back after 6 seasons with the Giants.
So let me ask this question. If you believe that Mike Kafka shouldn't be back, and I'm genuinely asking this, like, because I'm not in the building, what makes you so confident that Mike Kafka is doing a bad job, but also like Brian Daboll, who's also responsible for the offense because he's an offensive head coach, then we're so secure on Brian Daboll's job, which I agree with. I am on Brian. I think Brian Daboll's a good coach, and I think he is hopefully the right coach for this team. We'll see how he deals with these assistants and the relationship between them. But if you're so confident on Daboll, what do we know about Mike Kafka that makes him unique from Brian Daboll, besides him just picking and choosing the plays in certain moments?
Yeah, that's basically it. It's like, well, he does the play calling, and the offense has obviously been really bad this year. But I do want to defend Kafka a little bit. Well, while talking about some of the things that do bother me about him. But some of the things that bother me about him can be very much linked to Brian Daboll, and it's very weird. And we have the next question is about Brian Daboll specifically, but it's like the head coach. You know, like we talked about this when Brian Flores was a candidate, right? We're like, hey, being a former head coach helps you, right? But it also hurts you because now a lot of your flaws that aren't going to be shown as the head man in charge are open to everyone, where the other guys aren't. Where to me, like some of Brian Daboll's flaws are out there in the open. Mike Kafka could have a lot of flaws, but they're at least not out there in the open.
Yeah, we just don't. We don't know them.
That being said, if Brian Daboll does feel like he should move off of Mike Kafka, that does tell you a lot about that. As long as it's not about just their personal working relationship. If he actually thinks like, hey, he just doesn't run my offense the way I want it, I'm okay with that. As long as he calls the plays or brings in Ken Dorsey to call the plays.
I would solely think that if the relationship between Wink Martindale and Brian Daboll was better. But now, because Brian Daboll could be an asshole, if Brian Daboll's an asshole to work with, and both of them are gone, I'm no longer giving Daboll that benefit of the doubt. If you know what, maybe it just didn't work with Mike Kafka. Maybe Daboll is just an asshole and a tough person to work with, and that makes me really concerned.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in the next question. Now we haven't had the Wink Martindale type story come out from Mike Kafka, and any type of like rumor, and I'm talking like small rumors, like nothing huge or substantial, have been like more of like Daboll may not be super happy with Kafka.
But people in the know have still like they've sprinkled it, where it's like when talking about Wink Martindale, they're also putting Mike Kafka's name involved in that. In like, you know, and we're talking about possible Tony Award winning Ryan Dunleavy, and I think maybe Dan Duggan, who's a former Tony Award winner. You know, they're all kind of sprinkling out there that when talking about Wink Martindale, in the same breath, they're mentioning that Wink Martindale, Mike Kafka may not be back next year.
Yeah, so we'll see. But with that one, Brian Daboll either takes the play calling, or Ken Dorsey comes and takes the play calling. Right, I'd be okay with it at that point. If he just kind of went out of the building, like the other people he interviewed are Pep Hamilton and Chad O'Shea the last time. I was never a huge Chad O'Shea fan, even though there's not a ton to judge him off besides that Miami OC year. And then, Pep Hamilton he didn't do very good with the Texans last year, but it's hard to judge him when he had Davis Mills as your quarterback and a pretty bad offensive line. But here's the thing with the link between Daboll and Kafka. Like, this is Brian Daboll's playbook for one, right? Like, obviously Kafka has added stuff to it, but it is Brian Daboll's playbook. The run game issues are the same things that popped up in Buffalo, where it's like the run game doesn't really have an identity of what they do. They don't have good chemistry. And to me, that's more on Bobby Johnson and Brian Daboll. The offense was ranked bad. To me, the offensive line in early games with DJ were really bad without Thomas. Like, really bad moments that made it hard to play. The offense looked pretty operable under Tyrod Taylor, and they've been able to coach up Tommy DeVito to where he was actually liked by a lot of the fan base. And I go back to 2022, and I look at an offense that's Richie James, who we talk about how bad the Chiefs wide receiver core is. Richie James can barely get any playing time for them. You had David Sills and Marcus Johnson starting for over half the year. Darius Slayton didn't start to begin the year. Not good offensive line play. And you were 9th in EPA per play. You were 15th in success rate, 12th in dropback EPA per play, 7th in rushing EPA per play, 15th in scoring. So you were able to do all of that. To me, Mike Kafka, and I watched the film in these games this year too, and I see open receivers, and I see playmakers being used, and I see a lot of times the offensive line being issues or quarterback play just not being able to deliver. And then, in the run game, it's mostly offensive line issues. It's hard for them to run zone with Justin Pugh right now. He just cannot get any movement at the point of attack, and it messes up, double teams, and it's just an issue for them. So to me, Mike Kafka, has shown more good than bad as an offensive play caller.
Yeah, I agree. And even go back to last year where the Giants were like dead last in 2021 in red zone offense. They were 5th in the NFL last year in touchdown red zone scoring percentage. Dallas was 1st, Kansas City 2nd, Philadelphia 3rd, Detroit 4th, Giants 5th. That's a pretty damn good list. That's pretty damn good company. This year they're 30th. And they're the Jets are 32, the Titans are 31, the Giants are 30, and the Raiders are 29. So that is not tremendous company to be around. But I don't put it on. I don't really put it on Daboll or Kafka from a schematic point of view. I really don't. Were there times this year where I kind of hated the offense because they just kept spamming a second and long run to avoid a second down sack just to take a sack on third down? Sure, but I'm also not sitting back saying that's the main difference in the Giants being a 5-win team and an 8-win team and 9-win team. I'm not doing that. I'm not sitting back and saying that the play calling and the Giants' run-to-pass ratio and the red zone play calling like it was with Garrett in 2021, I'm not sitting back and saying that is the main difference in why the Giants are an abysmal offensive football team this year.
And, we talked about if Dave wants to call plays, he could have done that this year. And I don't think anyone would have batted an eye at that if he wanted to take over play calling, right? So you're going to wait till next year to do that. And then I know some people will bring up the Cardinals game in the video did there's literally a belt that calls in the plays. Now Daboll could have been communicating the Kafka, but that hasn't been the process after that for the season. So if Daboll really wanted to call plays, he shouldn't have waited. He shouldn't be waiting until the season's over, right? He should have done it and seen. So I think Kafka, and again, Kafka, there's things Kafka can work on and grow from. I think Daboll should try and help him in that instead of throwing away a good, bright young mind who has done well with bad personnel in the NFL and has proven to be able to do that.
I still think something was going on weeks 3 or whenever that Cardinals game was to even the 1 or 2 weeks after that where Daboll had that play sheet and was talking into it. I still want clarification on what was happening for those few weeks.
Yeah, it's and he could have, like I said, he could have been communicating to Kafka what he wanted run while not technically calling the plays. But
right.
if that was the case to where he's I got to do this, he would just simply take over the play calling duties.
Yeah.
And we would know. Well, actually, we might not know that because we find out stories months later. All right, Justin, next question.
Next question is coming from Ken C. With Tyrod Taylor back in at QB, do you think it will stunt Tommy DeVito's ability to read an ad?
Today's episode is sponsored by Shady Rays. It's the season of giving. Give the perfect gift for a special someone, yourself or both. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades and quick swap snow goggles that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers an unrivaled product that's just as good as an expensive pair we've worn. Durable frames and world-class optics for all outdoor adventures. And if you're into winter sports, their quick swap snow lenses move effortlessly between full sun to low light environments. And you snowbirds have told me that's a big deal. That's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by the lost and broken replacement. And if you're someone that's active or not even active, that's the biggest thing about sunglasses is how do I'm afraid of losing these or breaking these or damaging them, right? That was always my issue why I never really invested in good sunglasses because I'd lose them, right? You'd be out on the boat, they fly off your head. You will go in the water and forget to take them off your head, gone. Leave them somewhere. That's not what you want. So if you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they will send you a brand new pair. No questions asked. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after your purchase. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out a very great deal for the season. Go to ShadyRays.com and use code GIANTS for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. You'll be glad you did. Next question.
Well, you'll certainly be glad you did. In research, Rick, NYG fan in Charlotte, he's asking, is Daboll getting a free pass from fans deserved, or should fans be more skeptical of his future based on the choices he's made this year?
Oh, man. This is tough because I think Brian Daboll should, like I've said time and time again, Brian Daboll would have to commit crimes for me to say he shouldn't be the head coach next year, and then I would still have to see exactly what crimes they were. Brian Daboll, I don't think you can look at last year and be like, oh, flukes. No, that's not every coach can do that. I like what they do schematically. But he is going to be under a lot more scrutiny next year. Right, Justin?
Oh, huge, yeah.
And to me, it's not about just looking at wins and losses. But the wins and losses, like, I think, in a sense, kind of help him, right? Because things went to shit this year. But you had this team win 3 games in a row under Tommy DeVito. Under the last coaching staff, Justin, that just doesn't happen, right?
No.
Like, maybe you have the win versus the Patriots, but I don't have any faith that they would have beat the Commanders or the Packers. I just don't think that they would have been capable of doing that with Tommy DeVito at quarterback. But there is things that need to have more light shined on them, right? Like, something I was bothered by when he first was hired is the special teams hiring process. Like, it came out of some cute story that he was interviewing Thomas McGahee, and like before they even got halfway through the interview, was just like, "Hey, you want the job?" Like that's a bad hiring process. The Bobby Johnson hiring, right? Like that has to be fixed. You have to fire Bobby Johnson. We'll see. We know the relationship, at least at one point, was not good at all with Wink Martindale. Has it been able to be repaired? How does the defense look when if Wink is moved off of? Handling of injuries. Like Jamie Gillian has 2 injuries on his left foot, Justin, and I think he's going to punt this week.
Right.
Like, and it goes back to like the Adoree Jackson thing last year, like injury prevention. The Graham Gano, they lost the game because of bad handling of Graham Gano's injury. And then smaller personnel moves like tight end 3, edge depth. Obviously, that falls a little more on Shane. But, tight end 3, if Daboll was like, hey, I want a tight end 3 who can block, that would have been addressed in the offseason. The edge depth I put on Shane and not Brian Daboll. But so things like that, man, they can add up to losing games. And if you lose games for 2 years in a row, with all that, those are the things that are going to be pointed against you. And the main thing will be how he deals with people and can he maintain relationships.
I think because of how tight Daboll and Shane are, Dan Duggan talked about this today in The Athletic, how tight Daboll and Shane are, Daboll deserves criticism for misevaluating this roster. That includes Daniel Jones. Now, we have a mailbag question about that later, and I'm not going to that's not going to be the reason why Daboll gets fired because of this Daniel Jones contract. But still, hey, all right, we're going to give this quarterback a lot of money. This is my quarterback. This is the guy that I want to ride with. Coach, you sure you want to give this guy a contract? Yeah, this is the guy. Let's do it. Doesn't hold the Giants back from doing anything, which we've talked about. So that's one. Yeah, I think that we can add a lot more speed to this offense. I think that we can add Paris Campbell. I think that we can really utilize and let this guy Jalen Hyatt fly. I think we could trade for Darren Waller, even though, yeah, Evan Neal's our right tackle. He'll take a step up. Yeah, let's go. Let's rock and roll. Yeah, Josh Azudu will take a second-year step up. Let's go. Mark Lewinsky, you're good enough of a starter. Let's go. I think there was a lot of misevaluation that happened this year on the offensive side of the ball. But most notably, Daniel Jones not taking that second-year jump in the system, not getting explosive, not operating the offense. Second year in a row where they asked him to operate a big boy offense, and a second year in a row where he couldn't. And then luckily in 2022, they changed and they altered the offense enough where it was a top 10 efficiency EPA per play offense, which was great. Won a playoff game, that's great, but teams caught on to it, and it just didn't work in 2023. And that's a huge misevaluation from Brian Daboll, and it's also by Joe Shane. And I'm going to put both of them in the same conversation because of how attached at the hip they are.
Yeah, obviously the Jones one, but smaller personnel moves I do put on, the job is Joe Shane's, right? And, the head coach's job is to, get the most out of the guys that are put on his plate and, try and build that confidence. But to me, it's like lack of offensive line, like addition. To me, that's way more on Shane than it is Brian Daboll. Like that's Joe Shane's job.
No, but the point is that
the
they
tight
felt
end
like
thing. Yeah, I put that on Brian Daboll.
They felt like they could run an offense this year. We saw them in camp, Bobby, slinging it across the yard. We knew what they wanted to accomplish, and it's a fine thing to want to accomplish it, but it is also on the coaching staff to realize, hey, we can accomplish this. Maybe we have to go back to some of the heavy rushing schematic stuff that we were doing in 2022. Putting burying Saquon Barkley into the ground and running
the
more. The
handling of training camp is obviously a big one too.
Right. So I think so. I'm not even talking about from like, okay, Brian Daboll is responsible for drafting offensive linemen. He's clearly not. He's part of the process, 100%. Way more part of the process than Joe Judge was. Way more of the part of the process than Pat Shurmur, and I think even way more than Tom Coughlin was.
I think Joe Judge was involved. They just hated him and Gettleman hated each other.
Yeah, they freaking hated each other.
And Joe Judge was just strong-willed to get his way a few times.
Dave Gettleman was not. Joe Judge was not Dave Gettleman's pick for head coach. He was John Mara's pick for head coach. Have I ever said that Dave Gettleman actually wanted Brandon Staley on this show? Well, there you go. That's sourced up. So now you know. Where am I going? But it is on Daboll and his staff to evaluate what they have in this roster and be like, okay, this is what we can accomplish offensively this year. Yeah, we have the quarterback. Yeah, we have the receivers. We have the line to get all these things done. And Bobby, they didn't have anything to get any of it done. And that's on the coaching staff. It's on Daboll. They adjusted last year. And they adjusted to none of it this year.
And they lost Andrew Thomas. And I think that really hurt. Like, we saw them be able to... They lost Andrew Thomas, and then they lost Daniel Jones, and then they lost Tyrod Taylor.
And Evan Neal sucked from the start.
They had to... They couldn't not go into this year with Evan Neal as the starter.
No, but again, you're not understanding my point. My point is that they thought that they could run an offense that did not work, and they could not run. They couldn't run the go, fast, explosive offense that we saw in camp.
Yeah, again, I think a big part of that is Andrew Thomas getting injured, and then even though Daniel Jones did not step up to the plate, is bad. Daniel Jones, we've also seen a lot of his success is correlated to good Andrew Thomas, which I'm going to talk about in a question coming up. But there's a lot of things like. When Andrew Thomas went down, does it stop you from running like stuff? No, but it stops you at running it consistently, which they tried. And they did adjust somewhat, right? Because the Cowboys game, their plan for that sucked. They did think they were going to be running and gunning and throwing all over the field, and it really backfired in that game, right? It was a bad matchup to do that too, but it really backfired. But they did adjust after that. And you saw the Arizona game. They weren't like, you got some of those big explosives, but they weren't just like, hey, well, protection's going to hold up forever. You saw how they adjusted in the 49ers game, and, they just... The Seahawks game, there was good stuff, and Jalen's just shit the bed, had one of his worst games on film. All right, next question.
Yeah. But you do understand where I'm coming from, right? Like, I'm not talking about roster decisions and Brian Daboll being attached to that, but I do think he's part of like creating an I'm not internally with his staff.
But it all worked in camp, right? It's not like in camp they tried this stuff and it didn't work at all. Now, part of the thing that was going against them was they didn't realize one of the questions coming up, how bad their pass rush was going to be outside of Dexter Lawrence, which again, I really think helped.
They have to evaluate that. It's not on us to. We're evaluating what we're seeing, and the results were good in camp. It is on. They're being paid so much more money, like an exponential amount of more money, and they have way more years of experience of watching football, and also they're in the building every day. They know what they got in Evan. They should know what they got in Evan Neal. They should know what they have in these cats. They should know that, hey, maybe Aziz ain't looking too good coming off whatever injuries he's had. Kayvon Thibodeau didn't even look that great in camp to begin with anyway, but we took it as a plus for the tackles. They got to know. That's my point. They have to know. And shame on us for buying into it, I guess. But again, it's on them to determine that. So, next question. Bobby Skinner. Who's that? Tim from Florida. What are you guys betting for the Pinstripe Bowl?
It's today, so we got to make a decision.
Oh.
So I got a couple of things. One, since the Tony Award is coming up, the loser of this game, and again, this game is more even because a lot of, Miami's not that good, and all their good players are either drafted or, coming out. I was thinking the loser could pay for all the Tony Award stuff, and then they're the ones who have to go to the company and say, hey, expense this Dunkin' gift card, this trophy, and this T-shirt. Or like a NASCAR diecast. I don't think I'm going to go to the company. Well, you can get that stuff expensed. Or hey, that's just up to you to do that. We could do diecast. What do you got? We gotta put something on it, even if it's really nothing. But we gotta put something on this.
Okay, I have no idea what the spread is because I can't bet on it in New Jersey since it's Rutgers football.
I can see what the spread is.
But yeah, I'm down. I'm down for something. Let's just make it the cost of the Tony Award, and everything that entails with it. The gift card, the shirt, the trophy.
Yeah, so it's just like you have whoever has to handle.
Wait, are we talking about who wins the game or who covers?
Let's see what the spread is, and then we'll figure that out.
Because there could be a huge disparity here.
The spread is... What the fuck is this game?
It's -2 for somebody. My guess is -2 Miami.
It's not showing up on this. Maybe it's because I'm in Florida. Miami, Rutgers, spread.
Drum roll, please.
Here we go. Come on, where it is.
Here we go.
15 minutes ago from this website.
From this website.
Rutgers is a 1.5 point favorite.
Hell yeah. That's fishy, though.
That's crazy.
Home field advantage.
I was not. Yeah, I guess so. So yeah, loser of that has to do all the Tony Award stuff.
Okay,
so
again, are we doing spread or are we doing pick'em?
It's a 1.5. You know what? It's in your advantage.
Matters.
I want to just do pick'em.
Okay, let's do pick'em. Go Rutgers.
Yeah. So that puts me at a little disadvantage, but I don't want to. I want to just do pick'em.
Go Rutgers.
So that it concludes the trophy, which I think is ends up being $20 to $25. The gift card, $20, and then the T-shirt. So it's probably it's like a 75. Ends up being like a $75 thing.
T-shirt's most expensive thing out of that. Steven Toronto.
Next question.
He had a viral tweet. You see that viral tweet of Dale Earnhardt and Billie Eilish? I didn't quite get it, but I enjoyed it. Steven Toronto at SToronto92. How much has the Giants' lack of offseason improvements to their edge depth and pass rush hurt their defense as a whole in 2023? The Giants only have 25 sacks all season after basically ignoring the edge position in free agency and the draft.
Yeah, I would have taken an edge in first round. I know Miles Murphy's starting to come along, but he's someone who I would have loved to take in the first round. And this isn't me being they should take Miles. Just saying edge was a bigger need in the offseason, people realized. And that's before this Aziz injuries. And I want to talk about Aziz too, which I'm shocked. For some edge has not been talked about a lot. It's been really bad. It's been almost, because of Kayvon, it's kind of been overlooked. They have the second least amount of sacks in the NFL, only to the Carolina Panthers, and Kayvon has 46% of their sacks. Dex is their best pass rusher. I mean, edge is a position where you need depth anyways, but the starters aren't amazing. Kayvon is good. I want to talk more deep in Kayvon in a later question. Kayvon's been good for them, right? But out of 79 edge rushers, Justin, Azeez Ojulari, who was really good in all of these metrics and really good on film, just has looked really bad, and the numbers match it. He's 72 of 79 edge rushers in pass rush production. He's 74th in pass rush win rate. Took dramatic dramatic drops. And let's not forget that who's dead last in both those categories? Jihad Ward. Kayvon is 58th and 70th in those categories, which is obviously really bad, but he's been able to produce sacks, which matter. And then you get, you traded for Boogie Basham, who's a healthy scratch the last 3 games, for Benton Whitley and Timon Fox. I feel like it has not been talked about enough how bad the edge room has been this year, because Kayvon's kind of hitting it with his sack total.
Yeah, I mean, last year they were 6th in pressure rate, and they were 8th in QB hits. This year, the Giants are 28th in QB hits, and they're like middle of the pack, probably even closer to the bottom quarter of the league in pressure percentage. 20% pressure rate, despite having the 2nd highest blitz rate in the National Football League. You could say, well, quarterbacks are getting rid of the ball quicker. I mean, I think Wink is still the defense coordinator. Wink is blitzing. It's still Wink. Wink is still doing what Wink does. Dexter Lawrence doesn't have as many QB hits. The fact that he's been playing like less than 50% of the snaps ever since he missed a game a couple weeks ago really hurts. Dex is still going to get 20 QB hits on the year if he even gets one more on the year, the final 2 games of the season, which is still pretty crazy. He's had a really good year after having 29 last year. So him taking a little bit of a dip in QB hits hurts. I think it does come down to, Bobby, even though Azeez Ojulari didn't play the majority of the season last year, I do think that difference in pressure rate, and I do think the difference in QB hits, I think it comes down to when Azeez Ojulari was on the field last year, he was an absolute force. Plus, you did have to worry about Kayvon last year. Leonard Williams wasn't like a big plus in the pressure. He was a plus in the pressure factor. He wasn't a huge plus in the QB hit category. I think it comes down to not having that second edge rusher, that just having no one that you can rely on. I really do think.
Yeah, Azeez, when he played last year, was really, really good, right? And I was kind of shocked because I was like, Azeez has been very quiet, and hasn't been any flash, but been a play here or there. Like the Seahawks game made some nice plays, but when
it's been a lot in the run game, not even as a pass rusher. It's been a lot in the run game. Like, oh, look at Azeez make a play in the run game there.
He's just looked really bad. Jihad Ward is not making the same amount of plays he was making in the run game last year, while also still being the worst pass rusher in the NFL at his position. You've got nothing out of that 4th edge rusher. It's been a really underrated bad part of this football team. And I want to know what the hell happened to Azeez. I know he's injury prone, right? I'm not including him. He's not stopping me from making any decision going forward, even if he was playing well because of the injuries, right? If he's playing at the same level. But he's not, last year, he took a true step forward from his rookie year, and now he's not even close to doesn't look like he did his rookie year. It's very frustrating, what has happened to him. I don't know if he's slowed down, he's added muscle, I don't know, but he does not look good at all out there.
No, he's not adding anything, and it's a shame. It's a shame. I can't even tell you. I'm going to do something that I haven't done all year long. I'm going to look up his Pro Football Reference page and see how many QB hits, I'm going to see how many tackles he has. I haven't done this all year. He has half a sack, 4 QB hits, 2 tackles for loss. He has 10 pressures, which believe it or not, it's only 3 less than last year. He's already played more games than last year, though. He played 7 games last year, which I thought was more. And
last year he played in a lot of games where he didn't even play 50% of the snaps.
Right. He's played 9. So he's played already more than 110 snaps than last year. Played 230 snaps last year. It feels like he played more than that because his impact was awesome.
Yeah. He was creating turnovers with his sacks too. He was playing really well.
Half a sack.
He won't win it, and so Marash asked us on the Fan the other day about most disappointing players, and they said take out Neal and Jones, and you used Waller. I was like, man, I should have said Azeez. To me, he won't win most underwhelming this year, but he should be top 3 in it, right? It'll be some form or fashion of Jones or Neal as the top 2. And then 3rd probably is Azeez, right?
Quietly went under the radar as a player that we were really excited for. Not as a number 1 edge rusher, but as like a number 2, and you could be a compliment to Kayvon Thibodeau and blah blah blah. Quietly went under the radar as, hey, we see you as a quality NFL starter for many years to come, and now it's like, I don't even know if I see you on the team next year. Very quiet how that story has kind of flown under the radar.
Yeah, like you said, it's like no one's really talked about, like, with Graham, like all we talked about was like how bad the edge group is, right? It's like it's hard to call a consistent defense with an edge group like this. And it's just like because of Kayvon's sack numbers, we haven't talked about it a lot. All right, next question.
Oh, next question is coming from RJ/AT Pancake Futures in Jeopardy. What? And Shane we trust with the 5 instead of the S. Did you hear the news about Evan Neal's ankle surgery? The sprain damaged the PTFL ligament, which requires the surgery called reading an ad. And oh boy.
By the way, Evan Neal, it's more than a sprained ankle. Can we figure it out? Like, Daboll says he's going to need surgery. I might have to start digging on this. Like, what is the injury
that's some
that
sprained
Evan Neal
ankle
had? Yeah.
Some sprained ankle.
What happened to Evan Neal's ankle? Let's figure this out. Next, go ahead.
Oh boy, it's time for the parade in Pasadena. Tradition meets college football action in one epic bowl game. And with DraftKings Sportsbook, you can make every play count. New customers can score $150 instantly in bonus bets for just betting $5 on any college football game, bowl game, whatever you want. Download the app now and use code WORLD. New customers can score $150 instantly in bonus bets for just $5 on college football only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code WORLD. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. You're right. The numbers actually typed out are very tough. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Kill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility, deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources. Bobby Skinner, you'll be glad you did. And the next question is coming from Nooner at One Giant Nooner. Does it worry you that the ones who said let's go with DJ, he's great, are the same ones in charge of making the pick for our next franchise QB? For me, it's no.
Me, it's no too. Now, anytime you're taking a quarterback in the first round, it's worrisome because it's hit or miss, and it's like your franchise depends on it. It can swing So it could swing in both ways dramatically, or it could kind of put you in this Daniel Jones situation where we'll talk about it. Shane's part of the process that got Josh Allen, part of the process that graded Josh Allen and got him, right? And then Brian Daboll has taken a raw player like Josh Allen and kept him aggressive. So, it's like I have faith in them. Actually, I don't have any reason to not like this. This is why I don't trust them, unless you want to do this Daniel Jones thing. Here's the thing with the Daniel Jones is he's not as bad as his games this year suggest, Justin, right? But he did flat out disappoint. Like, they acknowledged what DJ did in 2019 as a rookie was good for a rookie quarterback with the personnel that they had. Like, it was a good rookie year. And then something we talked about last year is the second half of 2020 and 2021 is honestly very similar to 2022 DJ, but you had Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka instead of Jason Garrett calling the offense. And, the main thing that they had him get better at was scrambling and throwing on the run a little bit more. Whereas pocket presence with Andrew Thomas had gotten a lot better. And I don't think it's a coincidence that, you had some of your bad stuff while not trusting his blind side. Now, that's not an excuse to put out the film that he put this year. So, no, Daniel Jones played well last year, right? They're not a fluke. Like, they won a playoff game. I don't care. Like, oh, they played against the Vikings. Okay, they outscored a really good Vikings offense and played perfect against that. It's not like they just like, hey, they didn't just put up some points. Like, Daniel Jones essentially played flawless in that game. Did essentially everything they wanted. Now, again, with hindsight, it was a mistake, but it doesn't. Like, I can see why, especially people in the building, wanted to re-sign Daniel Jones, and they didn't give him like this huge franchise. They didn't give him like a top of the QB market. They gave him the Ryan Tannehill type contracts, even though that DJ did get higher percentage wise than those guys, but it's kind of in the same range as those guys.
Right. The fact that they can get out of this Daniel Jones contract, it's still going to hurt in 2020. It's going to hurt next year when he's on the roster, and it's going to hurt in 2025. Even though I think they could free up cap space of $20 million something, they're still going to have a dead cap with the number that starts with a 2. So regardless, that it's going to hurt, but it's not going to prevent them from going out and getting the next franchise quarterback, even this offseason if they want to. Which
they built into the contract, which means they weren't just full bloom, like, oh my God, this is 100% the guy, let's plan for it, right? Like they planned that, hey, he's pretty good, but he's not 100% what we want.
Yeah, and for your exact reason that you started off by saying, hey, does it worry you that the ones who said let's go with DJ, he's great, are the same ones in charge of making the pick for our next franchise quarterback? No. What worries me most about the ones in charge of making the picks for our next franchise quarterback is that in the NFL, it's really hard to find a franchise quarterback. That's the thing that I'm most worried about, that it is such a crapshoot, and there is so much of the process, especially with quarterbacks, and it'll be with quarterback more than any other position, because you want your quarterback to be the guy that's first in the building and he's out last, right? You want your quarterback calling Mike Kafka and Brian Daboll over the summer. Hey, I have a question about this, coach. I was watching film and I have a question about this install. And you want your quarterback to be the hardest worker, not just in the building, but you want your quarterback to be one of the hardest workers in the NFL. And that is what is going to distinguish whatever quarterback that the Giants take, is their ability to work and their ability to take coaching, understand it, apply it, and also having a God-given feel for pocket presence that cannot be taught because they've tried to teach it to Daniel Jones for years. That will be the thing that separates the Giants franchise quarterback and the next one between, maybe the one who's not the Giants franchise quarterback.
And like I said, it's not easy. Like, now we're back in the draft cycle, and every quarterback's amazing, right? It happens every single year. And if like you criticize a quarterback, like people lose their minds and like you're just a hate, like every year. So you could say, oh, this is a great quarterback. Every single time we've heard this is a great quarterback class, it ends up sucking, right? Yeah. Like, what are the last 2 great quarterback classes, Justin?
Great. I mean, Andrew Luck and RG3.
No, that people said like in the last 10, like the last 2, 2018 and 2021. So who do we get out of those? Well, the top 3 in the 2018, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, and Josh Rosen went 5th. The top 2 sucked. Josh Allen turned great. Lamar Jackson, the one that everyone didn't like, ended up being great. And then Josh Rosen sucked, right? Great quarterback class. All right, the next one. Trevor Lawrence. Now, Trevor Lawrence has been really good in the NFL. Hasn't been quite what he was hyped up to be, but that's kind of impossible standards to live by unless you are Andrew Luck. Zach Wilson sucks. Justin Fields. People are still doing this conundrum. He's not very good right now. At least say that. Trey Lance sucks. Mac Jones sucks. So it's, I am not in QB or bust moment. I really hope that we get a quarterback moment, but I'm not. I am not like, you got to go take a quarterback.
But here's what makes me feel better about having Brian Daboll as the guy that's going to be, hey, if they pick a quarterback, they're going under Brian Daboll. You just named a shit ton of quarterbacks, and even take Trevor Lawrence's first year. Terrible situation, and Trevor Lawrence looked lost. Trevor Lawrence looked really bad. A lot of these top quarterbacks that are taken, they go to horrible situations, and situation and coaching and talent around you, that stuff very much impacts if a quarterback is going to be good or if a quarterback is going to be bad or if a quarterback can even just survive. And that makes a hell of a huge difference. And I'm really glad that Brian Daboll's here, that, at least hopefully the coaching side of it will not be a flat out disaster so the quarterback can thrive. That is what I'm hoping.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, this next question, let's scrap it because it's a good question. So I want to put it at the top of next week. So
yeah, because
we're
we're
going to save
running a
it for
little
next week. This Kayvon Thibodeau. So I'm going to save that for next week because we could have led off with this topic. It's a good one. So we're going to save this Kayvon topic for next week. And let's get into these last couple.
Chris Peace, do you think that Danny King's weather reports have affected Justin's ability to read an ad? Well, they've affected my ability to read an ad, but maybe Bobby can read one.
We got to start sticking it to Danny King. You can't just say chance of rain. Is it gonna rain or not? Like he said, chance of rain every freaking week, every week this year. Every year this week. Today's episode is sponsored by SeatGeek. If you don't know what SeatGeek is, they're a ticketing app that makes buying tickets super simple. They're a ticketing app that I'm going to use for the Pop-Tart Bowl. And I wish I was using for the Pinstripe Bowl, Rutgers at Miami. I don't know why you're not going to this game, Justin. You should be. Use SeatGeek and use promo code GIANTS. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events every single day on SeatGeek, including sports, concerts, festivals, and more. They always wanted to make sure that you are getting a good deal. So when you're on the app, look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. Every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, and SeatGeek is the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps. We have got the hookup. Use code GIANTS for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code GIANTS. Click the link in the description to download the app.
Next question. Oh, breaking news. Talking Giants officially had their first 1 million view video.
Congratulations, Justin.
Congratulations to us. We did it together. The
no,
Belgium
you made
guy.
that video.
Huh?
I said, no, you made that video.
I made that video. The Belgium guy at the Belgium guy 1. How did the tape of Deontay Banks look against A.J. Brown? Did he actually silence him a bit? Bobby?
So, this is what I said I wanted to watch on film when I got it.
You did.
I was disappointed. Not because he did bad, but because the Eagles just had A.J. Brown run a hitch 25 times. Like, I would be losing my mind if I was an Eagles fan. And Glock Roach messaged me, and he was listening to our guy Sean Syed on the Philly Special podcast. He's like one of the best film guys in the game. And he's like, yeah, they just start spamming A.J. Brown like on these same routes. And it was just hitch every single play. And they had Banks playing an off inside leverage with his hips turned out to the sideline. So A.J. Brown won a few times on those hitches, and Banks looked pretty good on it, right? But it was the ultimate, like, hey, you're running this coverage, so we're just going to run hitches, and we're really not going to test you or challenge you at all. So I was very frustrated, again, not because of Banks, but because of the Eagles. Like, you see the stats of A.J. Brown versus Banks. I'm like, I'm excited to see this shit and see what happened. And then the Eagles just, like, they are not losing Shane Steichen hurts them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it really has hurt them. Like they do some stuff on defense with Matt Patricia. I know I praised them for the way they played Tommy DeVito, but again, you're playing Tommy DeVito. They had Nolan Smith playing stack linebacker. Yep. And the Giants were like, on 4th down and 1. And it's like, oh yeah, of course we're going to run right at you. Like, they have issues. And they were we have answers for everything offense last year. They're not that. And I actually like Wink's game plan in this. Now, there were some 3rd downs and 4th downs that get you a little frustrated because you played soft on him. But Wink, through a lot of different coverages. He ran cover 0 blitzes the most he's done this year. He ran fire zone. Like, he threw a lot at Jalen Hurts and confused him. There was just time where their guys were more talented and made plays, and then they made plays in the few times where you didn't really love what Wink Martindale was exactly what he was doing. So, anyways, that's all I have to say about that.
Anyways, that's all you have to say about that. Boring. Get more entertaining, Philly. We want to see it. We want to see Deontay Banks.
No, don't. Please don't. Please be bad.
Please be bad.
Banks was a DNP on Wednesday, and that was a walkthrough, so participation is a projection. But hopefully that shoulder injury is not something that's going to lose him these last 2 games of the year. because he'd be a really good test to go against Puka and Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I would love to see it.
And then the Eagles again.
Most important question that we have gotten this year, Mr. Brownstone, he asks, can you host another live show in North Carolina next year so I can bring this franchise back?
I actually do want to do that again.
I'm going to the race. I will be there.
I think we should do a Charlotte Motor Speedway live show again. And I think we can actually do it in the track this time because of all of our connections with NASCAR, right? So we could tell people, hey, get into the gates early, come in and hang out there. You can bring your own, alcohol, and we can set up in the concourse of the track.
That would be sick.
Yeah, instead of being like, hey, like we'll figure out where we're parking when we get there and then tell you. No, it's like, hey, meet us, in front of this thing inside the track, right? And the tickets are cheap. You can bring your own alcohol in there. You can bring your own food and alcohol in there. Like, it's just come out and hang out. I actually do want to do that again. And if you guys don't remember, Mr. Brownstone, the Let's Win Some Games, like that's a rallying cry that led to the Giants winning a playoff game.
Legit saved the franchise, and we didn't go back to Charlotte, and now the franchise is doomed again. So what do we need to do?
Got all our North Carolina people. Now, here's the thing: that those people who did it the one time, like, now I know Mr. Brownstone would, I think Research Rick would, but like Tim Coffey, you better get your ass there because we know you're a flake. So people like that would have to show up.
Steven Toronto will be there because he's probably already at the race anyway.
Yeah, so we got to do it a little more. Like, we got to make sure we get some people there, but I do think we should do that again.
I agree. I will already be there.
Should we title it Charlotte Motor Speedway Live Show?
Nope, we should not. We should not title, because any time that we have made a NASCAR reference in the title, that is the worst episode of any Talking Giants in like the last 2-3 years.
I love like stats and analytics is like, that's what happens. Like, NASCAR paid us to go to Chicago. What else did you want us to do?
We'll title it something else. We'll title it something outrageous.
Yeah, just total lie.
Bobby jumps off a building.
Great stats and analytics. Like, hey, you know what? When you title it about NASCAR, it doesn't do as well. Oh, word. Does the JetBlue Sucks episode not do as well as, the Giants draft Deontay Banks?
Oh, that is the JetBlue Sucks episode did suck, numbers-wise.
Well, that one came out on a Friday evening, so that was on our fault, but...
It was JetBlue's fault. I wanted to... fucking A. We're going to fucking Mobile, Alabama. That means we have to travel with equipment again. They're going to lose my shit. And I'm going to also continue to lose my shit again.
You need to pull a Gaylord Fokker and be like, hey, this gets there. And make sure it gets there.
Give me your address and give me the people
you guys messed this up. Make sure this bag gets on the damn plane.
Give me the people that live in your home
with you.
And if it doesn't get there, then somebody may show up to your home. And the people that live in your home may be gone.
Yes, I would love to go to my second favorite state in the nation of North Carolina, my second favorite sport now of NASCAR, and see some of my favorite Talking Giants listeners and do a live show.
I would love that. And good news, I drive to North Carolina, so don't have to be worried about losing my stuff.
That is good news. I would not, maybe I would drive there. Maybe I will we'll just all drive to North Carolina.
Yeah, it's like a 10-hour trip for me. It's got to be way less for you.
I think it's 10. I think it might be 11 hours because you're going to it's not right off I-95, right? So you're going into Carolina a little bit. Actually, I'm going to look that up right now. How long does it take to get from my address?
Well, we're almost at an hour, so hurry up.
All right, hold on.
59 minutes and 30 seconds.
It takes 8 hours and 13 minutes. All right, so less time. All right, well, enjoy your guys. We'll see you tomorrow for a preview pod. Until then, let's go Big Blue.